Hey everybody, welcome. It's been a while and wow, what a week. What an election day. I hope you voted. Welcome to Zinnia 62 Live and please don't go home. I don't know where I got that stupid comment from. It's a play on whatever. Okay. Hey, I'm going to cut right to the chase, all right? Just to show you how terrible the overall state of media is today. At the 49er Raider game last week, were two gentlemen that, save for one publication, were outside the view of the media. Lorenzo and Frank Fertitta. The Fertitta brothers. That's right. The Fertitta brothers. You would say, who are the Fertitta brothers? Well, the Fertitta brothers are well-known casino owners, okay? And in fact, okay, you would say, Zinni, how well-known are they? Tell me something about them. And I would say, you know what? That's a good question because I'm just learning about these guys. And, you know, I've heard them mentioned before a bunch of times in this whole saga regarding the Raiders' move to Las Vegas, right? But who are the brothers that have a name that it's Fertitta? I was saying Fertitta brothers, the Fertitta brothers. Who are they? Well, first of all, they're led by a gentleman by the name of Frank Fertitta III. You know what? Since I can show and tell, I'm going to do it like this. Make it more entertaining. Bam! That is Frank Fertitta III. Frank Joseph Fertitta is an American entrepreneur. He is the current chief executive officer of Station Casinos. He's also a founder of Zuffa LLC, which is the entity that runs the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So his brother is Lorenzo, their late father Frank, and they were in business with Dana White. Nico Fertitta, I believe, is the nephew. Craig Filgen, Tillman. If you know who Tillman Fertitta is, Tillman. In fact, you know, I just made this connection just sitting here. Tillman is the head of Landry's Restaurants, and was on had a show, I think, where a reality TV show where he was actually investing in businesses. Okay, on CNBC. All right, and then there's S. Fonda Scudo. Tillman owns the Houston Rockets. So this is a family of entrepreneurs involved in entertainment. But what's interesting about these gentlemen is that, oh, look who's number one. Oakland News Now. Ooh, isn't that cool? Ooh, hold on a second. I gotta rock in, right? But anyway, that's my blog, Oakland News Now. Okay, but look at this. Right below Oakland News Now, fans for Fertittas attend last Bay Area battle of the Raiders and the Niners. All right, that is the only news coverage, and that mentions them at that contest, and that's by a very astute person with the Review Journal who either spotted them or was tipped off that they were going to be there, and had a photographer on the field to capture them talking with 49er general manager John Lynch right here, okay? That is Frank. That is, that's Frank Jr., excuse me, that's Lorenzo, and that's Frank Jr., all right, of the Fertitta brothers, okay? I don't know who this gentleman is. So they were talking, and it says casino owners Frank Fertitta left and Lorenzo Fertitta center. Okay, so Frank and Lorenzo, all right, met with San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch, right, prior to the start of an NFL game against the Raiders at Levi Stadium. All right, and here's more photographs. Here's another. There's this one. All right, and talking with Jed York. And this one, okay. And folks, this is not an idle meeting. All right. If you think this is an idle meeting, you're a fool, okay? It is not an idle meeting by any means, any stretch of the imagination, okay? And a nice job by, give a shout out to Gilbert Manzo here, But even then, he talks about many red empty seats. Okay, fine. Then he talks about the Raiders being on track to relocate. Okay, fine. We don't get to anything at all about that, what the photographs until we get here. Okay? Brothers Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta are familiar with fights from their days of operating in the UFC. All right? They said that the Las Vegas residents and casino operators were on the field before Thursday's kickoff. But why? All right? Hey, Barry Lee, it says the Fertittas were reportedly in a bidding war this year to buy the Carolina Panthers, but that's done, all right? Okay? All right. And it says UFC President Dana White has expressed confidence that the Fertitta brothers will one day own an NFL franchise. It's 100% a fact they're interested, okay? And then they switched, he switches to another story, okay? He had the story of the fucking year, and yeah, I cursed, the fucking year in his hands, and he let it go. Here's why. That wasn't just any game. That was the Niners-Raiders. Where are the Raiders moving to? Las Vegas. The Fertittas want to own an NFL team, okay? Guess which team it is it that as of now has no home next year? The Raiders still haven't signed their lease with the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Authority that runs the Coliseum, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, okay? So you would say, okay, Zenny, what does that mean, all right? It means this. I'm just speculating. I'm speculating, because they are there, I have license to go on these wild speculations because of the photographs that I showed you, okay? This is what I believe is going on. First of all, the Raiders are still minus a set of owners to claim that $200 million they've been trying to sell for years. Enter the Fertitta brothers. The Raiders are, if they get the Fertitta brothers, they get gentlemen who are flush with cash, like $5 billion from owning Ultimate Fighting. They could take $14 million of that, pay Jed York, that's right, for a year, or $24 million for 2 years, to be at Levi Stadium, if they so wanted to do so. I'm not saying this happens, but look, I'm only going with what I'm seeing. Why are they talking with Lynch and Jed? Also, to learn about how that team is ran and get other information. They also don't want to be seen, all right, talking to the person who is their real, if you will, target, and that's Mark Davis. If they were seen talking with Mark, jig's up, right? Better to be seen talking with the Niners, okay, to throw people off a bit. Who knows where they went after they were on the field there? Maybe they went, they weren't seen with Mark. And that's perfect Raiders, all right? Having done business with the Raiders always do things indirectly. Give you an example from personal experience. When I started working as economic advisor to Oakland Mayor Lee Harris, prior to that, I was columnist of the Montclair. In fact, for 1 year, I was actually both. That was '96. I covered the return of the Raiders from Los Angeles, got to know Al Quasal, who was Al Davis' right hand in those days. To make a long story short, after I was hired by Elihu, he came to me and said, we need your help to establish the Raiders, to establish or reestablish the 49er Raider preseason games, only we don't want it to look like it came from us. I didn't ask why, I simply helped. And to make a long story short, Eddie DeBartolo came over, met with Mayor Harris. Then he drove from Mayor Harris' office, my boss, and he was actually going to build Eddie DeBartolo an entertainment district at Jack London Square. We talked about that as well. That didn't come to fruition, obviously. He then drove down to see Mr. Davis. They consummated a deal. Games are back. Now, that's how the Raiders do business. It would not surprise me that the Oakland Raiders circa 2018 said, hey, you know, we want you to help the Fertitta brothers get to know the NFL and what the ins and outs of running the team and everything else. Talk with them, okay? That didn't. That this none of those none of the excuse me none of those associations are just guys who like sports watching a team. It's not it at all. At all. I'll get your questions right now. Hey, Donis, how you doing? Barry Lee, how are you? Hey, Seuss, welcome. Todd Glackow. Todd says, so they don't own them. Why? Black Lion says, well, back at you. Larry Lee says, should the Raiders be worried now that the Warriors have to pay up? Yes. Greater Gans says, Son Wukong says, hello, Zinsters. I say hello. Crawford says, hopefully the Fertis know the value of the Bay Area. Raider Gans says, I've been saying it from the beginning. Once it was announced they were leaving, the NFL hates the Davis family and wants them out. Perfect move. Having Mark thinks he's won but going to Vegas, but will quickly be broke. Crawford says, and that's a great point, Raider Gans. Raider Gans, you mentioned something I'm going to get back to in a second. Hey, by the way, if you're on Facebook, please repost this and get people to come in and let's have some fun. And please, thumbs up. 2 thumbs. Crawford says, the Raiders should be frightened by the Warriors' ruling. The Raiders should be very frightened by the Warriors' ruling. I mean, very, very much indeed. You know, getting back to the Fertitta brothers, as I looked, there was a number of accounts. First of all, did you know the Fertitta brothers were actually involved in the running for the Carolina Panthers? They got involved in that bidding war. Of course, David Tepper won that for $2.5 billion. So, if they wanted to get in, you would think they wanted to get in to buy the Raiders. They would first buy that portion of the Raiders that Mark Davis has been trying to sell. If they do that, and they offer, let's say, $300 million, that gives the Raiders a cash liquidity they haven't enjoyed in quite some time. Barry Lee says, wow, now viewers can watch Zinni in VR mode if they have VR helmets. Really? At any rate, that's I didn't know that. But at any rate, how? But anyway, Donut says, where does this VR thing came from? I mean, no, I know what VR is. Barry Lee says, yeah, go to settings. Go to my settings. If I click on here, it says messages. Create a video post. I'll do that later, all right? And Barry says, go to settings. See, now I'm intrigued here. Not that I wasn't, but go to settings. Okay, I've got switch accounts, settings. All right, there's settings. Oh, forget it. I think I'll, choose how you appear, what you see. I'll do that later. Okay, see, you can see me in VR if you want. Oh, he says, well, the video quality is like 360. Yeah, you can. If you want to see me in VR, you can see me in VR. If you want to see me in surround sound, like my head is, I don't have a camera for you to see the back of my head. I'm sorry. But I digress. Getting back to the fact of the matter that the Fertitta brothers are interested in buying an NFL team, and I assert that they are about to get more than their toe wet, but their whole feet wet in the Raiders. Why else would they go to that game, of all the games to go to? Why else would they get involved in a bidding war for the Carolina Panthers only to lose? I don't think they intended to win to begin with. It was just getting used to the process, okay? I don't think they were just going to just up and say, hey, you know what? We're in Vegas, but, we'll buy the Panthers. And do what? Move them if the Raiders don't work out? Interesting, all right? So, all right. Donut says, SC Bay fans. Barry Lee, stick to the subject at hand. Forget the VR for a second. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go in with you, all right? Barry Lee says, my question is, do you think Mark Davis will really sell it? Let me put it this way. This is something that hey, welcome to Zinni62, everybody. This is something that I was hesitant to write in my blog post at oaklandnewsnow.com, but I'll say it. If Mark Davis happens to very sadly, will have a personal, something that should not happen, and I can't say the words, but if they happen, he would have to pay a tax of $350 million. I would hope he never endures that tragedy. although at some point it will happen. But he would have to, I understand it, pay $350 million. And as I've talked to a number of friends, the question is, where is he going to get that money? Fertitta, I keep saying Fertitta. Fertitta brothers, like Tillman Fertitta, the Fertitta brothers. The Fertitta brothers could offer him that kind of lifeline, all right? And so I think that under the circumstances of that scenario, yes, I think he would sell. Under the circumstances of the scenario of simply not having enough money to deliver himself, yet be in a position where if he sold it, he could sell it for $4 billion. I would say, okay, $3 billion maybe, all right? It would still be the largest sale in the sports. I think he'd go for it. All right, I really do. I mean, what's he going to do? Hold on to it? I mean, you hold on to it until the stadium is finished, and then you buy it, in which case you'd be able to claim, say, $3.5 billion, okay? Which is still well within the comfort zone of the Fertitta brothers to afford, okay? Fertitta brothers to afford, okay? I keep doing that. Is well within the Fertitta brothers' ability to afford that. So I really believe something like that is happening. And there's this whole saying, old saying, that where there's smoke, there's fire, all right? There's smoke right now. There's smoke. And Matt Marlello says they are smart businessmen with deep Vegas connections. Yeah, this is fascinating. I love this conversation because I didn't realize this, just how stupid I am. I didn't realize that the Fertitta brothers in Vegas were related to Tillman Fertitta. It didn't, Fertitta. See, I keep saying Fertitta because I look at Tillman Fertitta and it's Tillman Fertitta. But then there's something about the way their name is spelled that just that personally cracks, trips me up. But at any rate, as I look at that, we've got Raider Gann says, oh, Crawford, hey Crawford, how are you? Crawford says, could the NFL make a sale pitch to the Fertitta brothers? See, there I go again. How's that? Okay, fixed. Just got a brain adjustment there, all right? Raider Gann's, one moment. Crawford says, could the NFL make a sales pitch to the Fertitta brothers on the value of the Bay Area market? If by that, are you saying that the NFL actually cares that the Raiders remain here? Well, I'm not really there anyway. I'm actually 3,000 miles away, but in Oakland as opposed to Las Vegas. My answer to that would be the Raiders have already signed a lease. They have no concrete reason to want to break the lease at this point, save for one. It's one big one that they could use as a deal-breaking issue, but considering the amount of money the Raiders can claim once the stadium is finished, considering the excitement at the other end of the rainbow of a finished operational stadium, Las Vegas Stadium, why would they want to? Why would anybody go through years and years and years and years of work, get up this far, and then say, okay, I don't want to do it anymore? That makes 0 sense whatsoever. The only time anybody gets out of a deal of this magnitude with a project of that magnitude is if something criminal happened, and that is not in the cards here, as far as I know. Maybe you have another piece of information I don't know about. I doubt it. Cowboy Wrestler is here. At any rate, these are great juicy comments here. For example, I've got Raider Gann says, but I think everyone is missing one thing. We're on the verge of a recession, Raider Gans writes. One of the first things people do in a recession is not travel. How Vegas going to support the Raiders? That's a great point, because and that gets to the deal breaker, Raider Gans, I was talking about. By my estimation, the Raiders are already looking at a $20 million deficit in pay-go funds from the hotel stadium tax that was approved by the by the Nevada legislature. Really started estimating the monies in March of that year, and then moving forward. Okay, I don't believe that. They anticipated, when the consultants presented the idea at the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee, that the Raiders really calculated what would happen, or the consultants calculate what would happen if the pay-go funds did not meet the projections. By my estimation, they're about $20 million off right now. That's $20 million that technically, if you read the obligation as black and white as I do, the Raiders can say that Clark County owes them because they've been shorted because of less than projected growth. That's the position the Raiders are in vis-a-vis Clark County, okay? Why? Because the stadium tax is too small at 88/100%, what some would call, all right? That's the first reason. The second reason is that the visitation rates in Las Vegas have gone down, and that gets to what Raider Gans was writing about just a few moments ago, and that we're headed into a recession, which will only make, well, hopefully not, but there are signs that point that way, which would, make the case for even lower returns. Right now, the average monthly hotel stadium tax revenue had dipped just below 4 million to 3.9 million, just over 3.9 million. That's the first time that happened in the history, the short history of the collection of the money. Start off at 5 million, and the first month it was posted, that was March of 2017, and they went down like this, okay? So and that's the main problem. Matt Morello says Lorenzo used to be on the Nevada Athletic Commission board before owning the Ultimate Fighting Commission. Cowboy Wrestler says hello everyone, and thoughts and prayers for those in Southern California, and we'll take a moment to remember them in a moment. Jesus Marat says it was on Instagram that I read about Las Vegas Hotel Stadium meeting giving the Raiders the back door out of the Vegas Stadium, but I don't know if that's truth or not. No, that came from me, okay? That back door came from me. And my point is that when I say back door out of it, I mean that the Raiders are in a bargaining position, because very similar to what happened with the Raiders and the personal seat license situation in Oakland, all right, where the Raiders were told to expect personal seat license sales of at or greater than $83 million, which was the hurdle rate needed to pay for the debt service and the bond issue, okay? Instead, the actual PSL revenues came in at $56.3 million, and that was it, all right? It's a big difference, and that is what led to the shortfall that triggered both the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda paying $10 million apiece, $20 million total annually to pay off the bond issue. Now, the Raiders sued the city and the county and Joint Powers Authority saying, hey, you misrepresented your position. The Raiders are in a very similar position with respect to the Nevada legislature and more pointedly, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and the persons on the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, which comprised or came from Governor Sandoval's Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee. The Raiders can say, hey, look at this chart. You showed us 2 years of pay-go funds are going to give us about $120 million. We haven't seen that. And yet we need that money until the bond debt kicks in. Out of the bond proceeds, we only got $548 million. We're supposed to get a total of $750 million. You've only given us $48 million, so we're short. Okay? Right now, as of right now. By next year, by my calculations, there'll be about 20 million short by the time the clock stops on the collection. Actually, we're getting close to when the clock stops on collection. This is November 8th going to November 9th. So you got November 9th, December 9th, January 9th, CES. That's when the clock stops. I believe it was January is when the clock stops. So we're not far off, folks. We're not far off. So February of next year is when the clock stops in terms of the Raiders taking those pay-go funds and the money switch over to go to pay off the bond issue. I'll double check that, but I know it's around that. It's either February, March, in that area, okay? In other words, the Raiders are collecting the monies from the stadium tax right now. They're using it toward construction, okay? Then, when the bond debt kicks in other words, when they have to start paying the monthly bond, that money, that monthly chunk the Raiders would get, it shifts over to pay off the bond issue. Because they've already got the proceeds from it. All right? You're saying, what are proceeds? Proceeds are the upfront monies that I give you, the money that you borrowed. So in this case, the Raiders got $548 million check, all right, from Clark County. That's part of the total $750 million subsidy, okay? So you're looking at 548 minus 6, you add 100, that's 648, right? So the total 750, so there's basically 548, they're missing $202 million total. Part of that $202 million is supposed to come, now, part of the money is supposed to come from, you say, what fills in that gap? What fills in the gap is supposed to be the pay-go monies from the stadium hotel tax. And you would say, Zinni, why are you hesitating? I'm hesitating because in my mind I'm realizing something. They're really short, folks. Supposedly 750 million, right? Get 750. They only gave the Raiders a check for $548 million when the first check. Unless there's a second check give to close that gap of 650, there's a problem. There were $647 million worth of bonds that were sold. That means that the Raiders should get a check that totals $647 million. But even then, the $3 million short right there. Why? It's supposed to be $650 million, not 647. They're $3 million short right there, okay? $3 million short right there. Now, that's 648, 750. What fills in that gap in terms of what they're supposed to get? It's pay-go. They're given a check for $48 million, which is roughly about half of that, actually less. So right now, as it goes, Clark County better hope, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen, that they're able to close that $100 million gap. By my calculations, between the $3 million here and $17 million over here, that's $20 million. They're $20 million off. $20 million off, $5 million off. The bottom line is who's going to fill in that gap, okay? Really, the county should say, hey, look, it's our responsibility to fill that gap, so we're going to pull out that money. But where are they going to pull the money? They got to pull it from the general fund to give it to the Raiders. Why? Because it means that they meet their obligation. You see what I'm getting at? The Raiders have them over a barrel. Suppose they turned around and said, no, we didn't anticipate, and they could say this, which would be a really asshole thing to do. Clark County could turn around and say, you know what? We didn't anticipate low growth. Sorry. There's no clause in the law that protects the Raiders from that possibility with respect to Clark County, or protects Clark County from any type of allegations of breach of contract because of the assumption presented. All right? That's the situation that produces the backdoor that I was talking about. I didn't say the Raiders would take the back door. I simply pointed out the back door exists. All right? The back door exists. Let me get to your comments. And Black Lion says, facts, Raider Gans. What makes anyone think... sorry. Where do you get that? 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 Trying to get... oh, he says, Black Lion Supreme says, facts, Raider Gans. What makes anyone think that the Raiders will make a dime in Vegas? They said the same about LA, and we all know what happened with that mess. Matt Morello says, Lorenzo's son played at Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas and is a defensive back at Notre Dame. Wow. Currently? That's something else, huh? So you think, Matt, that maybe Lorenzo was trying to talk up his son as being to be a potential future San Francisco 49er player? Maybe a little bit, okay? Cowboy Wrestler says, what Davis doesn't realize is there are a lot of sharks in Vegas. Amen to that. And if you want to do business there, you'd better learn how to swim with them. Davis does not. You know, Cowboy Wrestler, I want to stop there. And I think what you wrote is the comment of the night. Because I've said this before and I'll say this again. Mark has got himself in bed with people who are part of a business climate in a city that was started by a mobster, Bugsy Siegel. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that that kind of forced, physical, threatening kind of business style it's not exactly a kind of business style that I would want to be involved in. When I think about that, and the reason why I close my eyes is I'm thinking about how some high rollers, it was a high roller in the Cosmopolitan, at the Cosmopolitan last year, I think it was. He had, I believe, a $10 million gambling debt, but he spent so much money it didn't matter. Well, something in the nightclub didn't go quite right, and security ended up beating him almost to death. He sued and got a buttload of money from the hotel. All right? But ask yourself this question. Why would anyone, go through means of physically handling somebody like that? Okay? I mean, there are other stories, too. There are other stories. You don't want to get involved, I don't think, with that kind of business activity, business climate. You would like to get involved, and I'm not saying that at all that the Fertitta brothers are like this, but I'm simply talking about this mentality that I'm going to take from you what I want by conniving business practice or by force or some combination of both. And I contend that to a degree that's what Mark has got himself involved in. Rather than trying to do business with the uber wealthy tech community in the Bay Area, which I think would have been, as hard as it seemed to be, a better and safer way to travel. That's just me, okay? But he chose the non-tech folks to get involved with. All right? And, hey, one love, everybody. And so Barry Lee says, Zinni, what is the hotel tax in Vegas looking like real recently? Is it still falling short? Yeah, I just said that it was. If you heard that, let me know if you did not. Matt Murillo says, Fertittas are tight with Robert Kraft since he was in on a group that tried to buy the UFC from them 2 years ago. Ah, okay. Black Lion, it's interesting because someone, the guy, Scott Robeson from Vital Vegas, tweeted that it may be that The Fertittas were interested in a team in the Northeast, like the Bills. But I still think that's a smokescreen. I believe that they're interested in the Raiders. I really do. And so, Black Lion says, bingo, the Raiders don't have enough fans in Vegas. Cowboy Wrestler says, even though I wasn't on his side during the Raiders relocation saga, I want to congratulate Steve Sisolak on winning the governor's race in Nevada. Yeah, I want to second that. Congratulations to Governor Sisolak, who really came out of nowhere, and because I had him outmoneyed and outmaneuvered and outspent by Adam Laxalt. But it didn't happen because of the wave of millennials that came out in Nevada to vote and put Democrats into office. I mean, they basically succeeded in turning Nevada blue. Gotta cheer that one, okay? Gotta cheer that one, all right? And interestingly, Mark Davis was on the wrong side of that politically because he's Republican. Now, interestingly, Mark Bedane, the president of the Raiders, is known as a Democratic donor. Okay, so from another perspective, they kind of came out even, right? Bedane can be seen helping Sisolak, and it's just fine for the Raiders. Davis can sit back and be friendly with the Republicans and like Dean Heller and Laxalt, and it's just fine. So they got their bases politically covered. Not bad. Cowboy Wrestler says, something to remember, Vegas is the 40th largest television market. The Bay Area is 6th. Yep. True. Facts. No, Cowboy Wrestler, you speak facts, but my point is the Raiders have contractual obligations with respect to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority that they've signed, and they don't seem to have any interest in breaking those contractual obligations because of the multi-billion-dollar revenue stream they're looking at from the stadium. If they make the right negotiations, if they seal the deal with another 13 transactions of the kind that they made with Caesars Entertainment, okay? So Matt Morrell says, Jerry Jones wanted the UFC in Jerry World for years. Brock Lesnar was supposed to fight Fedor there years ago, but never happened. McGregor was on the field there a month ago. So wait, Matt, are you telling me? Let's think about this. Let me put on my Gordon Gekko hat, and let's play Monopoly. So where do you think the Fertitta brothers are going to land? Is it Park Place? No. Is it Boardwalk? No. Is it Las Vegas Stadium, which will give them a gigantic arena for Ultimate Fighting? Ah. Huh? Eric Souza says the Raiders will get sold out to whomever Jerry Jones says. Ms. Zeitgeist says they're expecting most fans to travel there. The Raiders are only the fourth or fifth most popular team in Vegas. Well stated, Ms. Zeitgeist. Cowboy Wrestler says, Ms. Zeitgeist, let me tell you, fans in Oakland and around the Bay are not going to travel to Vegas and watch them. Longtime fans have had enough of the Davis family stabbing them in the heart. Barry Lee says, any word on the parking issue in Vegas? No, I'll follow up on that. Thank you for asking. Ms. Zeitgeist says, on the show Felger and Mass, Felger said that he thinks the National Football League owners set Mark up to fail in Vegas to get rid of him. Now, that's a common thought. That is a common thought, and I will tell you that one owner, and I'm not going to say this on the air because this person told me what this person told me at a dinner, and he was drunk. And the person said, hey, Mark, I don't think he can handle it. He doesn't have the pockets. That was another owner. That was last year. Barry Lee says, Zinni, will you have press credentials for the Super Bowl this year? I did not apply for them. I should have. I didn't even think to apply for them at all. In fact, no. In fact, you know what? If I wanted Super Bowl credentials, the time for me to have gotten them passed some time ago. And to be honest, you know, my thought has been so tied up with my mom that I didn't even think about it. I have credentials to the owners' meetings, of course, but I think the deadline for Super Bowl credentials, I'll check. I think it's coming up. I'll check. But I'll check and see what happens, you know? But because when I had them last time, I only had them for Super Bowl week. I didn't have them for the game. I had ticket for the game. That was Super Bowl 50, but I only had them for that week. And that was pretty great. That was great. But I digress. Sewell Combs says, Badame Dim? Wowee. Yes, he's a Democrat. Mile High Raider says, hey, how's it going? Are we beating the Chargers this week in your opinion? No. Joseph Benson says, very proud Nevada. All blue now with the wins by Rosen and Sisolak. A lot of all blue states after Tuesday now. Hopefully Rosen and Sisolak will work well with the Raiders. I'm counting on Sisolak helping the Raiders out with that tax problem, like increase. E-Rise Cali says, from this year's track record, I see the Chargers steamrolling over us this Sunday, in my opinion. I agree. Joseph Amenderes says, could Mark Badane be a double agent working against Mark Davis, House of Cards style? How would that work? I don't know that there would be a gain in that. Okay, I don't know that there would be a gain in that, and I don't. And how are you thinking about that? Welcome everybody to Zenny62. If you haven't subscribed before, please do. Mile High Raider says, I think we win this one, 31-24. Cowboy Rush says, Mile High Raider, 59-0 Chargers over Raiders. Ooh. E-Rias Cal says, they're not risking losing that #1 overall pick. Not only that, the roster is super depleted right now. That's true. Good night, Barry Lee. Barry Lee leaves us very strong. I like that. Barry Lee leaves us very strong. He does. Black Lion says, they cut Bruce Irvin, who became an Atlanta Falcon. How about that? Wow. Joseph Bensman says, yes, they have enough pass rush, Black Lion. Haha. And Unknown Raider guy says, what's up, everyone? To which I say, what's up? Welcome. I'm going to fire up the cam and listen in on the doings, excuse me here, of John Gruden. See what Gruden had to say. Unknown Raider guy, you're in Texas? You are not far from Barry Lee. Where are you in Texas, man? Where are you? That was my voice. Where are you in Texas, dude? Hey, by the way, anybody out there on Twitter other than me? Tweet. Shout out to Des Bryant. Folks, before I can go any further in this program, right now, I want everybody to stop their text for a moment and give a minute of silence for those who have lost their lives at the shooting in Thousand Oaks, California. All right. So that was a hard thing, a hard pill, and I hope no one here was impacted by that. I'm sure if you were, you would have said so by now. Now, going to the Raider website, amen. See what the latest comments were. I believe there was actually a press conference, and Greg Olson and Paul Gunther talked player growth prior to Week 10, and let's check on the videos. I'm just gonna play them. I'm not saying, I mean, maybe I'll just turn around and have you look at them anyway. How about that? Let me figure this out. Latest featured videos, press conferences, most recent videos, Raiders Spotlight. Salute the service. Raiders prepare for Chargers. Raiders hit the practice field. What else is there? Coach Gunther and Olson. All right. So I'm going to start with Paul Gunther. Thursday as he addressed the media. Here we go. This is Oakland Raiders defensive coordinator Paul Guenther. We have a vision of a running back plowing us down. Just kidding. Okay.
He's played in the Super Bowl. He's played in a couple different teams. He's a physical guy, big guy as a defensive end for us. That's some experience. So we're just trying to, find the right.
He's talking about He's talking about. Let's try this again. Okay.
He's a guy who's played pretty well in some big games over his career. What do you think he can bring?
He's guys played in the Super Bowl. He's played in a couple different teams. He's a physical guy, big guy as a defensive end for us. That's some experience. So we're just trying to, find the right mix of guys. We're turning our roster a little bit just to find some guys that fit us, not only for now but for the future. We'll see how they go. They did a great job yesterday in the beginning phases of practice. The first practice, they really picked up the system. So it's all going to depend how much they can pick up. They've done a nice job with that so far. So hopefully by the end of the week we'll have them caught up.
Sure. You haven't had the defense.
Oh, Black Line, this is Paul Guenther, Raiders defensive coordinator.
Yeah. A lot of changes and everything. What has it been like for you?
That's Paul Guenther, the Raiders defensive coordinator.
I've never been through anything like this before because obviously, when I took the job, there was a lot of guys that were either up for free agency or I thought were going to be on the roster. And, obviously there was a lot of changes. Guys had got signed to other teams, so we had to fill those spots in with some of the veteran players with the cap money that we had. So it's been a challenge, but obviously I'm trying to build this thing to get it the right way, and that's going to be a moving part, I think, for the rest of the year, just to find the right fit of guys, not only for this year, but moving forward down the road. We have a vision, John and I have a vision of what it should look like, and what it's going to look like down the road, and hopefully we can just keep getting better every week. But it's certainly been a challenge, yes.
I was going to say, did you at some point kind of have to change gears, or, like you say, is this part, in some way, part of the vision that you and John had?
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean,
guys and
it's the NFL. Obviously, there's going to be changes every year on every team, so that's just part of the business. But having, our vision was to bring in some young guys in the draft, and we did that, and they're playing. So, obviously, we're going through some growing pains right now with them young guys, but hopefully, the more and more snaps they get, end of the back end of the year here, going into year 2, we're going to see massive improvements out of those guys.
With the young guys, have you, when they come in and they had expectations and now things have changed for them dramatically, is that a concern? Do you have to address that? Have you had to address that with them to, hey, let's make sure we stay the course?
No, I think that the main thing is that they don't press. There's a certain maturation process for rookie players that I've been through since I've been in the league where there's certain steps, but here it's a little bit different because these guys have been thrown into the fire from the beginning. So maybe we're asking more out of these rookie players than we would typically when you had a veteran team that was in place. Those guys got to understand that we're treating those guys like veteran players. They got to step up and play for us, and hopefully they will.
When it comes to Martin Key specifically, where do you think he's made progress, and where do you think his next steps lie?
I think his progress has been, he's never really, playing on first and second down a lot. So that was something that when we took him, that was our vision for him to play on third down. But with the situation, we had to play him some more on first and second down, and I thought he's done a pretty good job with that. So again, same thing. He's, it's just not going to be, it's not going to be you're going to turn the TV on and all of a sudden he's going to have 8 sacks. It's going to be a building process through it all.
When Clinton McDonald first got here, he was used predominantly in a 3 technique, played a little bit of 1 even. Lately, vast majority of his work has been in the 5.
Yep.
What's driven that shift?
Just to get a little bit of a bigger body on the tight ends, and Clinton's been a versatile guy for us. And, when I had him in Cincinnati, he's played nose, he's played 3, he's played 5 technique. So he was a guy that we felt like, he could handle that position move. But he's naturally an inside guy.
Is that you want him playing this much 5, or ideally if you're in the nickel, slide him down to 3 and get more interior rush?
That's our plan moving forward. Yes.
What happened on that touchdown last week with Kittle on there? Clinton got him and he kind of released. What was supposed to happen on that play?
On the long one?
On the short one. Kittle scored. He kind of
Yeah, it's a little bootleg. We were a little bit off in the coverage. I thought the long one, too, we had three guys standing around him. And that's just kind of been the story of the year. I mean, we've got, the other night we're in man coverage on the first one. We don't, our corner's got dirty eyes and doesn't cover the guy. And then they throw a ball over the middle, and there's three guys standing there, and it's a touchdown. So we, the one they had a little bootleg on, we were just off a little bit in the coverage. So, that's just kind of been the story here. Those are the kind of things we got to eliminate moving forward. And it's some of the growing pains I'm talking about right now with some of the guys we have out there. A lot of these guys are starting for the first time, on this defense. So it's you're going to have to bite your lip a little bit, and on some of it. But my expectations of this thing is a lot higher. And what I told the players, I want their expectations to be higher than mine. So that's going to be important moving forward.
I believe yesterday was the second time he's been in pads all year. What do you have in him today at this stage of his return from the ACL?
I mean, he looks pretty good in there. He's just his first time back in pads. I mean, he's like another guy we spoke about that, before I took the job, I saw Jelly, I saw Vanderdoes and Mack and the linebacker, all those guys out there. So I watched Vanderdoes closely last year. He did some good things. He's a natural fit for our system. It's just we got to get him up to speed to make sure he's ready to go. And we'll see by the end of the week how we feel about that.
John said, or kind of joked on last Friday, that you guys go at it more on the golf course than what TV cameras kind of caught on the sideline. Would you agree with that assessment?
It's funny because, I went home that night. My son, they look at all that stuff, and it was some guy out of Cincinnati. Cincinnati.com put this thing out there. I said, Cincinnati? I said, they don't know any better. I mean, John and I fight every day upstairs, golf course, in the car, whatever it may be, on a player. So that's natural. That's going to happen every Sunday. It's happened every Sunday, whether it's good or bad. So that's just part of it. Again, our expectations are higher than what we're showing. And, again, we got to get our players to get their expectations as high as ours. So that's probably going to happen 100 times again. So.
What are you fighting about on the golf course?
Huh?
What are you fighting about on the golf course?
Strokes, Give me putts and I'll put it in the hole. We play it in the hole. Both of us, really. We both need it.
On that touchdown run last week, Gruden said he didn't have a problem with the effort. What did you see? Did you have any question of the effort on that play?
Yeah, we were out of fit. They're in a wide open formation. They run a jet sweep. And our force defender went inside number 2. He should have been outside, turning everything back. So the pursuit is waiting for that guy to turn it back. And he goes around the corner, and the only guys left is the free safety. And he's just trying to buy time for everybody to catch up to him. So it was, again, that's just part of the thing. I mean, we just got to eliminate those big plays that we're giving up. That's been my charge with these guys in the room. Because there's 40 or 45 plays where I feel we're playing pretty good, and all of a sudden it's like, did that just score? Really? We got to eliminate those fast.
Jet sweep, that's a phrase I'm sure that you guys have used a lot inside the building and trying to stem. How's that coming? Is it still a point of...
It's the fad now in the NFL for these offenses. You go through the 4 wides, and then there was the zone read. Now it's the jet sweep. Everyone's running jet sweeps and plays off of it. So you're going to see it every week. We've seen it every week. So it's just something that the NFL is going through on offense.
Along those lines, Ken Wisden, jet sweeps haven't been before this year that I can recall as big of a part of what they do, but you've seen it more. What do you see from the Chargers in terms of how they've evolved to embrace that trend?
Well, they're running a lot of it in certain personnel groupings. So it's whether it be 3 receivers or 2 backs, whatever it is. But it's funny because I did in a bye week, I did a study on all the jet sweeps. And when you see New England, you see Cincinnati, you see Atlanta, you see all these teams running it, and when you break it down, they're all the same plays.
Yep.
So everyone goes in. Most of the offensive coaches go in and say, hey, where are the big plays coming from? Oh, that was a good one. Let's put it in. So we just got to, on defense, you just got to stay on top of the curve. You got to trust your eyes and your techniques within the defense, and play it because it all fits together. And just as long as everybody's on the same page with all those things, you shouldn't have those issues.
You mentioned in the car. Are you and John still carpooling to work?
Yeah, every now and again. Every now and again we will. Like I said, we did a lot in the off season, because we were in here. It was like Groundhog's Day every day. So I said if you put a camera in the rearview mirror, it'd be like taxi cab confessions. And we could, honestly, the range from politics to football to lifestyle to where we're going for dinner, whatever it is, it varies. So
Where's that count? That'd be good for
that's
the
right.
website.
That's right. Like I said, I love John. He's great to work with, and we're really, honestly, guys, we're really trying to build this thing the right way, and we have a vision for it. And I know it doesn't look like that right now, but I'm confident in what we're doing.
Really kind of tell yourself to stay patient through the whole thing, because
every day
you've worked on a lot of winning teams
every day, because I'm not, obviously, I've been part of and with a lot of good defenses in the past, and there's certain things that breakdowns we're having that we shouldn't have. I'm not used to seeing mental deficiencies, some physical deficiencies on some of them. A couple of the touchdown passes against Indianapolis, we're just in proper leverage and guys jumping, whatever it is. So it's a little bit of both right now, I think. So, like I said earlier in the season, the first week, we got what we got right now, and we got to do the best we can, and with the techniques and all the stuff going through within the defense. Otherwise, if there's any kind of breakdown, it magnifies loudly.
Hey, so I have to say one thing. The defense has been really great against the run. It's I think, and I'll get to Olsen in a second, but
the best things with my CRV is
the only thing that I find a little uncomfortable is when, and this goes back to a system of defense I favor, and that was popularized by Tom Landry, the late Tom Landry, and it's gap control. But when I say gap control, it's more than gap control. It's predetermined gaps. And so we'll get to Greg Olsen in a second, but Gunther said, hey, we were supposed to have, on the jet sweep, a guy was supposed to come in and he was supposed to have the outside contain and stop it, right? But the question I would have had is, hey, did you have a defense called so that the gap was rotated to that side, or did you have it so that there was a gap count for either side, which if you think about the numbers, unless you have 9 people up front, it's hard to do. If you have 7, you have to pick a side, either left or right, strong side or weak side. How are you going to defend so that you're stopping the run, but at the same time rushing the passer? Okay, that's the dilemma. So if you don't have it where, if you have it where the defense is actually better if the running back goes, say, to the left than the right, and yet the jet sweep went through this way, you can't reasonably expect somebody to contain the run over here. All right, that's against the very system you installed, and it's basically lying to the player, saying, and setting the player up to fail, to say, hey, look, you're in a defense where really you should be pursuing over here, but you have to maintain the outside contained here. Well, how do you do that? If you maintain the outside contained here, okay, and the defense is designed to stop the run in this direction, you're creating a hole here for the backside to run through. And this guy's doing his job. He's stuck here, right? But he's doing his job here. So if he cuts inside, he leaves outside open. If you have it, you either pick it. If you call the defense and it's supposed to be effective this side and they go the other way, guess what? You got beat. If you do your homework, you can figure out which defense to call so that it doesn't happen. That's the coach's fault. That's not the player's fault. All right, so let me get to your comments before I get back to Olsen here, and then I'll turn to Greg Olsen. And Souza says, Muhammad says, fighting about how dumb you'd have to be to trade your best player, shaking my head. Yeah. Mile High Raider says, in my opinion, Mac didn't want to play for Gruden. He was asked to be traded. Black Lion says, he's a good defensive coordinator. We just lost the locker room. Muhammad says, I think Matt would have been a beast in Gunther's scheme. I agree. I think he would have too. Against the run, in particular, and the pass, because, of the Sikkim permission that Gunther gives pass rushing linemen. Just go through the gap, go it. Don't two gap, just go, right? That's cool. And what else? Matt Ohio says, no doubt that we would have had a great pass rush with Mac plus rookies. And see if I can clear up. This is blurry for a second. I don't know why. Let me see something here for a second. And do this. Maybe that will clear it up. And hello. And 35 watching now. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why that blur is there, folks. I apologize. It's there. Okay. Or maybe, are you getting the blur? I'm not getting a. I'm getting a little bit of a blur. I don't know if you're getting a blur or not. Let me know if you're getting a blur. If you're getting a blur, I won't worry about it. Are you? Let me refresh this because I don't see anybody making a comment. I'll just type hello. Hello. Okay. Okay, no blur for you? Good. No blur for you? I'm happy. And it's cleared up. Okay, cool. We're back. It's cleared up. All right. Because I don't have a blur anymore. And I'm clear on your end, and I'm clear on my end, too. So we're clear. All right. Let's turn back to, in fact, you know what I'm going to do is, rather than have you watch Paul Gunther, I'm just going to play his voice, okay? And you don't have to look at him. Some people, I think some people don't like to actually look. I actually find I lose viewers when I show them. Let me see what happens if I just, let them talk, all right? Let's
season, you try to gather
this is,
what worked and what did not work well in the first.
This is Greg Olson. I think some people don't like to actually look. I actually find that was me. So a second. Let me when I show them. Let me see what happens. All right, now let me go back to Greg Olson and his voice. And no, I'll show him anyway.
This season,
here.
I want to say 77 have started in your own territory, and the only ones who didn't, all were in that Cleveland game. What is, I'm trying to remember how to ask a question about it. It's a pretty daunting stat, but just what's the difficulty that comes with those long fields?
I just think you always, how we approach everything is with the players, you control what you can control. And our job every time we take the field is to score points, whether it be field goals or touchdowns. So that's their mindset, whether it has to be an 80-yard drive or a 30-yard drive. It's just unfortunate we haven't had a lot of those short drives. But same thing, we'll control what we can control, and whatever field position we've got before we take the field, it's a mindset of trying to score points.
How is A.J. McCarron coming along? Do you think if he does need to come in, obviously like he did last week, he's ready to do so?
Yeah, I think he's been up to speed. He's done met a lot on his free time with our quarterback coach, Brian Callahan. He's done a great job with him. He's really up to speed with the offense as well as he can be without being here for OTAs and training camp. And he's doing some extra work after practice with a lot of our young wide receivers. So we like where he's at right now, and we feel we'd be in real capable hands if it came to that.
There have been a number of times this season where, as a staff, you guys have had the mid-game, they're suddenly shorthanded on the offensive line. It can affect the execution. It can, I'm sure, affect the design. What happens mid-game when you learn we aren't what we hope to be up front?
Well, just a lot of conversation, obviously, involved amongst the coaches with Tom Cable specifically when it comes to the offensive line position. I think we've had 5 different right tackles played or have a possibility to play. We've had 4 different combinations right now with the possibility of a 5th this week. But when it happens in the game, it's usually that position coach and all of our position coaches do a good job of playing players at multiple positions, whether it be at the wide receiver position or in the offensive line. We practice those situations in practice. Coach may call out in the middle of one of our practice periods, hey, could be anybody. Colt Miller's down, who's got to go in? And so we practice those situations throughout the game. It'd be the same thing at wide receivers. Hey, Jordy Nelson's out. Who's the next X up? And so we do practice those situations. And so it's not a surprise on game day when those things occur.
Chuck said that he felt like he remembered or retained a good amount of stuff even while I was gone. Has he transitioned back in preseason?
Yeah, I thought he had a good practice yesterday. Did a nice job in the one-on-ones, and that's the possible 5th tackle that we're talking about playing. But he's done a nice job. Again, I thought a little bit rusty on Wednesday, but or on Monday, but was better yesterday.
Approaching Jared Cook differently? Are they doing different things with him as far as coverage, making him more of a focal point?
I don't, I think, again, everybody defends him differently. Certainly he's at the top of a lot of tight end categories as far as the receiving tight end. So I think people realize that he's certainly a threat for us. But we haven't seen the double coverages as much as them maybe putting one of their better defenders. And we're seeing sub-defense. To our 12 personnel at times with Jared in the game, and that's, again, because of his ability to catch passes. But that would probably be the only difference that we've seen is a little bit more sub-defense to when Jared's out on the field.
Do you think the drop of catches more maybe because of the lack of time to throw the ball?
I think it's more than anything. Yeah, I attribute that to that.
Brandon Parker seemed a little bit amped up going into his last start with the false start, the holding, the sack allowed in the first 2 drives. How do you work with a young player through that sort of thing and making sure he keeps calm and stays true to his technique?
Well, it's calm and confidence, really, and it's an unfortunate, difficult way to learn about this profession somewhat, but it's certainly a results-oriented business, and we just wanted to let him just, take a series or 2 off and relax and calm down a little bit, but that's part of the game, what he's seeing right now, and it's a lot faster certainly on Sundays than it is Monday, through Saturday, so he's a young player. Again, we see a high ceiling for him. And I just think with experience, he'll get better, but he still has ways to go.
It's trial by fire with him. I'm sure once this offseason comes, he can really build off that and make that jump. But here, mid-season, have you seen some strides along the way from him that have been encouraging?
Oh, we have seen some strides, and again, with tackle, an athletic tackle like himself, he's got to have a vision, I think, for what he's going to be like in 4 or 5 years from now. And that's kind of when we drafted him. That was it. We had a vision. We knew he was, not as thick as we'd like him to be right now, but we know there's certainly going to be some growth along the way, and he's getting invaluable experience right now. We didn't initially think that he was going to have to play here as a rookie. We had Donald Penn. But, again, that's part of this business. He's got thrust into action, and, he's giving us his all right now, but we have real high expectations of him, and we'll expect him to get better in the future. Is that it?
A couple of your most versatile reserves both managed to play center between Ian Silverman and, of course, John Feliciano. Do you think playing center does a lot for players' understanding, or enables him to have an increased understanding when he's playing guard or playing tackle?
No question. I think that you just have to have an overall knowledge, really, of the scheme part of what we're trying to do, whether it be in the run game and making the run game points, or in the protection part of the game where you're having to make those protection points along with the quarterback. So, he's the quarterback of the offensive line per se, and so your overall knowledge of knowing what the other 4 positions are doing is critical, and certainly it takes an intelligent player, number one, to play that position, but you also got to be very versatile in how you move. You got to be able to handle a nose guard by yourself when playing that position. So a lot goes into it, but it certainly would help them with their overall understanding of the scheme.
Just a few bright spots. Would you say Jalen Richard is a bright spot, and is he better than you thought he was coming in?
Yeah, real excited about Jalen. He's a guy that, again, having a vision of what this team is going to look like. He's certainly part of those plans. Valuable pass protection, valuable route runner for us, runs excellent routes out of the backfield, but also has enough punch in his game that he's an excellent pass protector. So we're happy with him, and we certainly see him as part of the future.
Last one.
As what you've seen from Doug, I know he had the hip issue come up, and the game script kind of got away, but what you've seen from him in game action, has that reaffirmed everything that you felt in the preseason and the spring workouts with him?
Yeah, I still feel really good about Doug Martin. It was unfortunate last week. I know it was 2nd or 3rd carry on the hip flexor, and he continued to try and play, which is a credit to him and his toughness. But again, like we've spoken before, still shows great vision and speed in the hole. So you just got to stay healthy.
All right, so folks, that was Oakland Raiders offensive coordinator Greg Olson talking about the offense, and so you heard what he had to say about that. Mile High Raiders says feel bad for him. Fewest sacks allowed this year. O-line. Muhammad asked me what my midseason valuable players are. Well, one of them, his agent's going to be on this show later today. Lee Steinberg is going to be on here, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. Again, Lee Steinberg, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs starting star quarterback's agent will be on Zenny 62 Live, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Lee Steinberg, okay? So he's my high-value pick right there. That's the high-value player. You can't go wrong with the Chiefs players right now. Okay, who else we got here? Rodney Hudson's your MVP. My High Raider says, so we will see get production from the front seven without committing any safety to blitz. I patently object to that. I love the safety blitz. Heck, I love the double corner blitz. I love the 46. I love efficient blitzes. I don't like the blitzes where you have the defensive end come all the way and looping around to come in and go on the other side of the center. In other words, you have the defensive end here. Okay, you have the defensive end. This is the offensive tackle. The defensive end here. This is the guard, and this is the center. It comes looping all the way around. There are plays where the defensive end here will come all looping around the center this way. That takes too long. By the time he's here, the pass is gone. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I want efficient blitzing from any angle, but not any angle. Smart blitzing. For example, if the tight end is over here, and you have just the tackle over here and no running back, blitz from this side. Take it, no running back to pick up the blitz, or obviously, throw a quick pass. Send them in. Send them in. Automatic, that should be an automatic defensive adjustment. Every time you see that, send them in. Defensive end over the tackle. Linebacker coming in from the edge. Wow. That should be automatic. And I said just like that, wow, wow. You call that the wow, you call it the wow defense, all right? Folks, it is 2 o'clock. I'm going to sign off right now, but I'll be back again tomorrow. Actually, 2 shows, okay? So I'll have 3 o'clock Pacific and then 8 o'clock. Or 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock on the East. 3 o'clock, Lee Steinberg. 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, Elihu Harris. That's right, the former mayor of Oakland will come. We're going to talk election recap. So we got 3 o'clock, Lee Steinberg, 8 o'clock, Elihu Harris. Sports, politics. Politics, sports. 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock. 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Okay? So right here at Zenny 62, you don't have to worry about having a television set. Right here on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, or you can put it on your TV if you want. You can watch YouTube TV, or if you have YouTube as part of your app on your TV, you can watch it that way. Mile High Raider, thank you. Mile High Raider says good good night, like always, good show. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I aim to please. Muhammad says, this is an interesting comment by Muhammad. He says, I don't know what's worse. Olsen explaining how good the offensive OC is, or how Hugh admitted not attending Mayfield's draft combine tapes, laugh out loud. I think at the time, I thought Hugh was higher at the time, as if memory serves, on the USC quarterback Sam Darnold than Baker Mayfield. And there's Baker Mayfield from a distance is an acquired taste. He would not have been my number one. Saquon Barkley would be my guy. I would take Saquon Barkley, but I wouldn't, or I would have definitely taken Saquon Barkley number one. Okay, I could see that straight out. He just has that kind of talent. But with Darnold and Mayfield, I think you could have done just fine taking a quarterback in the lower rounds. I would have taken Lamar Jackson at that place because I believe Lamar has transitive talent. He's not a quarterback you put in to run. He's a quarterback you put in to pass, but you know he can run. He's a lot like, in terms of talent, Deshaun Watson. He's just not being employed that way. He is with the wrong team. Marty Morningwig is not the right offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson. Okay, I'll repeat. Marty Morningwig of the Ravens is not the right offensive coordinator. Nothing wrong with him personally, but he's not the right offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson. So, Joseph Armanduran says, if we get Nick Bosa at number 1, do you see him potentially pulling an Eli Manning and forcing a trade because of the Raiders' perception of the league? No, I don't at all see that, because I believe that there's an upside to what the Raiders are trying to establish in Las Vegas with respect to what players can get out of gambling revenues. And if he is at all smart from a personal finance perspective, he's going to be very interested in that. So I think that would be absolutely stupid on his part to do that. All right, 2 o'clock. Remember, I'm going to be back. Jalen Richard is your player. Got it. I'll be back. I'll be back. 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Lee Steinberg talking Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to put it out tonight. All right. See everybody. Thank you for being so fantastic and so incredible and so thumbs uppy. Thumbs uppy, thumbs uppy, thumbs uppy. Oh, as Muhammad says in closing, one word Bosa needs to remember, taxes. That's right. All right. Thank you, everybody. See ya. Take care. See ya. Oh, I gotta answer this question because Renee Baez Flores. Hold on a second, everybody. Hold on a second. Renee Baez Flores asks this question: if the Raiders get the #1 pick, who would you want the Raiders to draft? All right, I'll show you. Tyree Jackson. If you haven't seen Tyree Jackson, this is the man, either Tyree Jackson or Amir Hall, who just had his birthday November 7th. This man, let me show you, okay? Bam. This is the guy. He's out of Khalil Mack's school, okay? All right? And there should be some video here of him playing. He is a prospect here. Someone's done their film review, but rather than having someone do their film review, I'm going to have you see a video of him real quick before we sign out. I believe that if we can't get him, then Amir Hall. But let me go to video here. And, yeah. There we go. This is Army. He was 9 of 16 from 193, 1 touchdown, 10 rushes for 75 yards and a touchdown. And here he is right here. Put this. All right. This is Hall. That's him. All right. He's got what Peyton Manning would describe as a laser rocket arm. As you can see. All right. That's the same play over and over again. Here's another one. This is he's throwing to a wide open Anthony Jackson. Bam, hits him in stride. We'll see that again in a second. And so I thought, right there. See this? See how he moves into position and he throws on a dart. That's very common for him, folks. That's very common for him. Okay. So he is, as far as I'm concerned, the next great NFL star. I don't care when anyone says that Tyree Jackson, and then of course there's Amir Hall, and Black Lion says the kid has an arm. Then there's Amir Hall. He's out of the University of Buffalo, Khalil Mack School. Then Amir Hall is out of historically black Boise State, okay? And he just accepted a postseason All-Star Game invitation. And so, let's see here. And he's, once again, top for Player of the Year. I'm making sure there's video on him. This is from last year, but I want you, this is him standing in practice, okay? This is Amir Hall, okay? He's 6'4", all right? 218. And so that's Hall. Will this be an Amir Hall? That was also 2016. Running pickup touchdown. All right. This is November 3rd. He officially broke the CIA passing touchdown record. All right. Let's try that again. That enlarged so you can get a better view of that, what's happening there. Okay. We will play that again right here. And here we go. All right, watch. This is Amir Hall. Okay. Little routine there. That is not Amir Hall. This is where he received the award. This is Amir Hall off field. You get a sense of what the young man is like. See when
Hall of Fame. It means a lot, man. Just a lot of hard work paying off with me and my teammates. Spending a lot of time with my.
It's buffering.
Offensive coordinator, Coach Mo, Coach Wilson, even our defense, man. They gave us a tough time in practice, and I honestly felt that I got the best look possible through wherever, how long, from the spring to the summer to the fall. So, man, just shout out to everybody back at Bowie for believing in me, and that was just mean a lot. This trophy's for them and my family.
All right, so people can wonder, like, how can this guy get any better? You had such an amazing season last year. What things are you working on now?
Man, I'm working on just getting in the weight room, trying to eat a lot more.
I don't have that problem. I'm trying to eat less.
Just trying to, just honestly just been doing what I've been doing, man. Just been in the film room a lot more. I got my senior year. I'm sort of you're going to see a lot of the senior swag this year. So I know what teams we're playing. You know, we got a big Division I opponent first game, so I'm looking forward to that. So just a lot of the little same thing for last year, just cleaning up some stuff.
All right, you guys came up just, a little short there in your playoff run. What did you learn about the level of competition and how it steps up when you go from your CIAA regular season, CIAA championship, to that Division II playoff?
It steps up a lot. You know, we don't really play those teams, so it's important for us. You got to spend just as probably a lot of time in the film room just to watch those guys, to see how they move, see how they line up. So the competition is definitely a big step from the CIAA, but as you can see, we handled it pretty well. We had the lead at one point during the game and only lost by 10. So, like I said, it's on me and our team just to get us over that hump, and I can honestly think we can win this national championship.
All right, so I think the Raiders need to focus on a quarterback for the future. I think it should be one of those two gentlemen. And you did hear him say he spends time in the film room. That's Amir Hall, Bowie State football, okay? Bowie State football. He is last year he was number 1 in the nation. He had 39 touchdown passes. I don't see much film on him. This is Twitter, though. You'd think you'd see more. And he is going to the College Bowl in Louisiana, the Collegiate Bowl in Louisiana. He accepted that. He's a star. And don't sleep on him. And again, I think he's a person that would make a fantastic Oakland Raiders player. I'm actually looking for another video that captures his passing skill. Don't see it. The only thing I see here is worth showing as we go out is this. Black college football, week 10. QB and reigning college player of the year, Amir Hall, broke CIA for life all-time record for passing touchdowns on Saturday. This was last weekend. He threw for 333 yards and 4 touchdowns in his team's 49-7 win over ECSU. Player spotlight, 24 of 39, 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, Amir Hall. Okay, so he's a star. All right, you notice that number 75 was Deacon Jones. He's a star to watch out for. Amir Hall. So you got Tyree Jackson or Amir Hall, okay, for the future for the Raiders. Number 1 pick, I think it should be one of those guys. All right, and as far as needing defensive players, look, quarterbacks that can change the game for you, that can come in and start their franchise, they don't grow on trees. So you see guys like these, you don't hope that they fall down. You get them when you can at number 1. We've seen many times where the Raiders have had defenders drafted. We've seen many times where the Raiders have had defenders drafted that we were told were great, and hey, because of the scheme, they turn up not so great. I mean, didn't we just look? We just went through this with Conley, with Gainley and Conley. He's no longer all right. We just went through that with Conley. How about Obi Melifonwu? All right. How many defensive players do we have to go through before you realize it's coaching and not the player? Otherwise, you keep saying we need great defensive players. At what point do you realize it's the coach and the scheme? Instead of saying, players, I'm dying for one of you, at least, to say, we need to play this kind of defense and this kind of technique. Hello? Okay, hello? All right? I'm dying for the coaches to tell me, hey, I changed my scheme to fit the players. I didn't hear a Raider coach say that today. On defense, I didn't hear Gunther say, we've adjusted our scheme to fit our players. He said, we're trying to find players to fit the scheme. Folks, that is a losing proposition. That is why the Raiders have one win. You don't force feed players into your system. You fit your system around your players. All right, good night, everybody. I'll see you.